Welcome to another episode of Impact Society. Excited for you guys tuning in. We have a special guest, Dr. Dorinda Roll, and we're going to be talking about 501c3s and how they help. Welcome back to Impact Society, and I'm excited to introduce our guest, Dr. Dorinda Roll, friend of mine for, almost 15 years now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And remember when we met, well, one of the times that we met for sure, we was at the Area Foundation.
San Antonio Area
That's
Foundation,
right.
yes.
And you were doing just a class for everybody. It was free. Nobody had to pay. They could just come learn.
Yeah, I don't do that no more. No, I'm just kidding. I think that was one of the classes where the San Antonio Area Foundation they sponsored me, so
Right,
I didn't do it for free.
Right.
But they paid me to come in and do that for the community. Yeah. And that workshop was called To Be or Not to Be a 501c3.
That's
So
right.
what I was doing there was giving information about, hey, is a 501c3 something that I should be doing as opposed to maybe spending my own money for things that would be charitable or educational or something to impact the community.
Yeah, and then when I was there, I remember thinking like, man, there's a media company that's trying to be a 501c3. There was a couple other, and I was thinking, man, I didn't know all these different people could be a 501c3 or use 501c3.
Yeah.
You want to unpack that, like
Yeah.
anybody?
Multi-million-dollar organizations have a 501c3. And there are actually about 6 categories that you could have a 501c3. It could be educational, it could be charitable, it could be scientific, it could be literary. If you're wanting to do something for animal, to prevent cruelty to animals or for child welfare, there's like a whole litany of categories that could be a 501c3. So when I say a 501c3, that is the IRS tax exempt designation.
Right.
That a nonprofit could get.
So I've heard of, I think it's a 508c1a, and they say it's a for-profit acting as a nonprofit, but I guess there's like a lot of rules, and people need to be careful walking those fine lines because, they want to be able to say, well, I'm making a profit, but I want to act as a nonprofit. Then that type of stuff I feel like could get you possibly in trouble if you don't know what you're doing or...
So there's actually about 22 categories of 501c 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way on up. But the 501c3 is the most coveted one because that is the category of tax-exempt organizations that allows the organization to receive donations and grants, and those donations would be tax deductible for the donor. So if for your nonprofit, if it's a 501c3, I could give you a $100 check and I could write that off on my taxes.
Right.
Now, in terms of making a profit, there is nothing that says that a 501c3 cannot make a profit.
Okay,
in fact,
good
if you
clarity.
came to me and you said, we just want to break even, I would say, let me help you. Let me take you to the back room and school you a little bit.
All right.
You need to do more than break even. The difference is that you cannot profit personally from that nonprofit. You can earn a salary, absolutely. You could be paid for working for your own nonprofit.
Right.
But the business of the nonprofit should be for the community. So let's say you did programs and you brought in, I don't know, an extra $500 over whatever it was that you were trying to do. That money should go back into the nonprofit instead of in your pocket.
Gotcha.
So, but you can definitely be paid for your services.
Because some people how do you come up with the salary of the person? Like they can set it? Is there like they have to look at a standard industry of how much
Yeah, that's a good question. So what the IRS expects that you're going to do, you're going to look at whatever region or geographical area you're in. You're going to look at what standard salaries are for the type of business you are in. But you also want to look at the budget size of the organization. That's one factor. Here's something that would probably get you in trouble. And there's a term for it, but I won't try to get into all that. Let's just say the budget for that organization is $100. Annually, we have a $100 budget, but the executive director makes $90 out of that 100. So you can see that you're not going to have much left over to do any kind of services.
Right.
And so that would be something that the IRS would look at.
Almost
that would
like
catch their eye.
exaggeratory on your money, and you're not actually using it for
You're
that.
not right. That's to enrich the individual. So
Right.
that would be a problem. But generally, there are a couple of factors. As I said, you look at the budget size of the organization. That's one factor. But if you look at someone, let's just say you are an executive director there and you've been doing whatever you're doing now for that organization. Before you started the nonprofit, you have 20 years of experience. You've got degrees or what have you. So your salary might be more than somebody that just woke up one day and
Gotcha.
said, hey, I want to do this. I don't have any experience and I have no education in this area. So I would expect the person who has the experience as well as the training to earn more than someone just starting out.
Nice. There you go. And then you said with the 501c3, you can get grants. It didn't just have to happen to be with donors or anything like that. You can get grants. Can you unpack that a little bit?
Yeah, so grants come in a couple of ways. You can get federal grants, you could get state grants, you could get grants from private grant-making foundations. And that's what grant-making foundations are set up to do, is to give money away to 501c3s. Now, a lot of nonprofits, when they're starting out, they don't realize that they can charge, well, let me just go back. Especially with the federal government, you could get grants, but then you could also have contracts with the government. So it's a fee for service. It's just like, I am feeding people for whatever, or doing education with at-risk kids.
Okay.
You could have a program that you developed, and the government, whether it's federal or state, could say, okay, we're going to give you a contract to do that work. And so that's different than a grant.
Okay.
It's very different. But on the other side of that, as a 501c3, you can charge a fee for your services or your programs. So let's take, for example, the American Red Cross.
Okay.
So years ago, when I was young and in shape, I was a Zumba instructor, and to be a Zumba or any kind of fitness instructor, you have to have CPR classes, right, and first aid classes.
Okay.
So I went to the Red Cross, and lo and behold, they charged me for that.
Really?
No problem. You can charge for that. You can charge for certain services. It's not a problem, and I had no problem with that. They charge for other things too, but that's a part of how they support their ministry or their mission, if you will.
So I heard that Rolex is a 501c3. Have you ever
Like the watch?
Yeah.
Rolex?
Did you
Oh,
hear
I
that?
didn't know that.
Yeah. So I heard that like this is what makes them different when you go buy their watches, because it's not just a luxury item, but it's a way for wealthy people to get tax write-offs. So they could have checked the Rolex, and then I don't know what their nonprofit side is. I don't know what they're doing exactly. I don't know if it's art. Maybe is art considered can you have a 501c3 in art, or it has to be?
Well, you could, but let me go back to the Rolex part. So for Rolex, I would imagine that they are a for-profit company, but they might have a company foundation. So what they may do is take portions of their profits to put into the foundation, and that foundation gives money away.
Like Microsoft and Bill and Melinda Gates.
Exactly. So the problem with, if I bought a Rolex watch and I wanted to use that as a tax write-off, you would get in trouble with the IRS.
Really?
Yes, because for your write-off to be tax deductible, you cannot receive any goods or services in return. So, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but let's just say you bought a ticket to a gala that a nonprofit was having, and you wanted to write, and that the gala is a fundraiser, of course, right? So you want to write off your ticket purchase. The only way you can do that is the value of the meal or the bottle of wine, whatever you had, has to be deducted from that ticket. So let's say if the gala determined that your $100 ticket, $25 of that was the cost of the meal and entertainment or whatever. So now you can write off $75. Right.
Gotcha.
So that part of it is deductible, but it cannot be a quid pro quo the way the IRS says. It can't be a you give me this and I give you that type of thing.
Now you have your own organization, right?
I do.
And it's for
So my nonprofit empowerment seminars, what we do is we work with the community to help people. We help empower people so that they can help themselves. And some of what we focused on in the last couple of years has been we take our money and we give it to usually students at UTSA
Okay.
who have done all they needed to do. Well, sometimes they just need money for books. So we just say, because I used to be a professor at UTSA, so I would
right.
run across those students. We were just giving money for books, or if there were, I find a student who would say, I'm saying, oh, you're graduating this year. Yeah, but I'm not going to walk. Why not? Because I don't have the money for the regalia. So it's like, here, take this $250 or whatever they needed to get their gown and all of that kind of stuff.
Don't you also have a ranch for?
Oh, you. So I do not have a ranch, but I was associated
Okay,
with
associated
a
with
church that had a ranch,
Gotcha.
and I had a part in managing some of the facilities there.
Gotcha.
So yes, and that was a 501c3. It had a beautiful bed and breakfast. It had several horses on the ranch that people could come out and do a trail ride. Beautiful facility. So yes,
Is it? And it's here in Texas.
it is. It's outside of San Antonio in Medina County.
Oh, okay. Nice, nice. There was this lady that was trying to create a youth program, and I guess it was an after-school program. You may know her also, Dr. Cheryl Washington. I say lady, but you know Dr. Cheryl Washington?
I do not know her.
So she, we were working at one point together, but I ended up getting so busy with real estate and stuff, I wasn't able to finish that. But we were putting together a program, and it was an after-school program, right? Unpack how somebody could create an after-school program for kids. Like, she's creating this curriculum, we were creating this curriculum, and it was going to involve, like, kind of like, I don't want to call it like a ROTC, but it definitely had a regiment, like a military, like, you're going to come in after school. We're going to have an exercise part of the program for physical health. And then there's going to, assist with helping the students with their homework and stuff like that. And apparently there was a big grant on the table for that. But like I said, at the very last second, I had to shift. We had some family issues come up. Can you unpack, because earlier, again, we kind of addressed it, is that, man, there's so many things that you could do for a 501c3.
Yeah. And so a youth program would be right in there. I mean, for an after-school program, I would have set that up as an educational and a charitable 501c3.
Okay.
So the educational piece of it would have been, we're helping young people with their homework and whatnot after school. Maybe we might have a reading program associated with that, maybe even a mentoring program. The charitable part would have come in that those children would have been getting a quality after-school program, but they don't pay for it. And those programs are usually set up in communities where perhaps the parents could not afford to pay for it, even if they wanted to, but the need would be there.
So you can add multiple parts to a 501c3, so it can actually touch multiple
Absolutely.
industries.
Absolutely.
It didn't have to just be focused on one industry.
No, you can set it up multiple ways. And so that term charitable, I like to think of it as a catch-all category
Okay.
under the 501c3 because, charitable could be like what the Red Cross does. Charitable could be what the food bank does. Charitable could be the after-school program. So you can have multiple layers of what you want to go into a program, as long as it fits in the guidelines of what the IRS says. So when you first set up your 501c3, in the application, you have to tell the IRS what your activities are going to be. What have they been in the past? Well, in the past, we didn't do anything. We're just getting started. Okay, no problem. Then what are you doing now? Okay, so we've got this program laid out. And then they also ask, what are you going to do in the future? So you might say, well, we've got our after-school program. We're partnering with maybe a public school so that we can go in and utilize their facilities. Maybe it's the community center in the area, or it could even be a church, or maybe you've gotten enough funding that we can rent our own facility. So, but you want to bring in partners. That's kind of the way that organizations are able to really launch and get off the ground quickly, is if they have partners to work with them. So, if I were going to do an after-school program, I would partner with maybe some of the fraternities or sororities or groups that are already established. So I'm not having to go out and find 1, 2, 3 people at a time. I'm going to talk with an organization that has some ready bodies. We can get them trained. Exactly. And it would be important too, I'll just throw this in there. If you're going to put together any kind of a program where adults are going to be working with children, you really should do a background check on the adults, because there's a lot of liability with working with children if the wrong people get connected to the children in some kind of way.
I never thought about this, but would like a daycare? Could a daycare ever qualify as a 501c3?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it might be an idea for somebody out there. I had another question, because I think we talked about this before, like if I started doing things and people wanted to donate money now, but I don't have my 501c3 paperwork or anything, should I stop until I've got all the paperwork filed? Is there a way to get backdated and still consider certain donations within a year or anything? Part of that, if they had the intention to donate, for instance, to Impact Society.
Yeah. So let me go back and answer one other thing real quick while I'm thinking about it. After school programs, daycare centers, YWCA. Look it up in your community and see, does the YWCA have after school or child care?
Okay.
And those are, they're 501c3, but that's just an example. Now, to your question about you're ready to go, but you don't have the funds, is that what you were asking me about? You're ready to get it started.
Right.
So what I would say is go ahead. Well, there's 2 things that you can do. Patrick, you're pulling on me because, I don't know how long this program is. But so you could go ahead and get it started. Ask for funding. But most places that you try to get the funding from, they're going to want you to have that 501c3. And you were like, I don't have it, but we're doing great work. I'm already set up. So a lot of times you can get what's called a fiscal sponsor, an FISCAL, fiscal. So that would be another organization that has its 501c3. They would actually take in the money for you through their organization and then redistribute that money to you so that you can go ahead and do business.
Y'all hear that? That's a good hack right there.
Yes, don't stop. There is always a way to get money to you. If there are people who want to give to you, you don't ever want to say, oh, well, can you wait until I get this, which may be no less than 180 days is what the IRS gives themselves to respond to your application.
Gotcha. Because we talked about this before, like success loves speed, and then sometimes like, it stifles them because they think, oh, I got to do this and I got to do that. And then next thing you know, the whole momentum is
the opportunity is
over.
Gone.
Yeah.
Yes. Let me tell you something. Now, this wouldn't apply to everyone, but I have, I've been doing this work for 20,
You read my mind. I was going to
27, 28 years. Yeah, I've been doing 501c3 work for about that long, 27, 28 years. I started my company in 1998. I know that makes me like 100 years old, but
No.
It is what it is.
Hey, black don't crack, but Asian don't reason. Just to let y'all know.
But through the years, I've had people come to me through my workshops or referral, multiple ways people would want to start a 501c3. I would have people paid to come to my workshops. I'm not naming any names here, but people would pay to come to my workshops, and they would get started, or they would get started with the paperwork some kind of way, but they would never finish all the way through.
Right.
So when the pandemic happened, now if you had had your 501c3 already on paper, we didn't do anything, but we got the letter of determination. Maybe we went on ahead and opened up a checking account with $100, or some banks will allow a 501c3 to open it with $5.
Okay.
They just want to get your business in there. And you just kind of sat there and you were waiting because it's like, well, let me wait until I can get some people to help me, to back me, or let me get this money. And they didn't do anything. But when the pandemic came, if you had had your 501c3 already established on paper, you could have applied for some of that PPP money.
Even PPP was for 501c3s.
Yep.
Really? Now, I got a question for you. Like, what led you to decide, like, 501c3 is the work I want to do? Like, that's where I want to be. That's my
Man,
wheelhouse.
that is a good question. So before I came to San Antonio, I was in another community in Kansas where I worked in doing small business development and economic development for 5 rural counties.
Okay.
So when I came here with my military spouse, I was wanting to do the same work. I was director of a small business development center there, so I thought they're going to love me and they're going to give me a job at the small business development center here, but they were not interested in me. So I applied for another job where my skills would transfer, except it wasn't with for-profit companies, it was with nonprofits. But it was the same kind of thing that I was doing. And so I got a job there, and I worked with an attorney who knew how to do the 501c3 paperwork. So I would do workshops with him, and then I learned how to do the paperwork, and I learned how to do all the other stuff of how to run a nonprofit organization. And there was a need, and I decided I didn't want to work for the organization anymore, although I loved them, but I was always more of an entrepreneurial person at heart. And so it's funny because when I left this organization, I had this one client that I had been doing some board work with them, nonprofit boards. And I told him, I said, well, I'm going to be leaving this organization and another person will be taking care of you. And he said, well, where are you going? I said, oh, I'm starting my own business. He said, well, I'm going with you too. And so they actually had a federal grant to set up 501c3s around the state for mental health organizations. And so I did that with him with their organization, who was based out of Austin, for about 5 years. And so they were not my only client, but they were my consistent client that allowed me to really get my footing in business.
So you start off just as a job. You end up liking the job. It wasn't a career path like from high school. You were like, man, that's what I always wanted to do. It was, but you got into some job work. You end up liking what they were doing and the cause. The entrepreneurial you was calling for you to step out and do your thing, take control, right?
Yes. So money was calling my name. I made $20 an hour at this other company.
Got you.
But they booked my time at $125 an hour.
Oh, and you saw that.
I knew that.
And you were like, man,
yeah,
I'm missing
I'm
that.
writing the invoice out. I already knew.
I'm leaving a lot of money on the table.
Yeah, so it was like, wait, I get 20, but they get 125. But people are asking for me. I think I can do this on my own.
Yeah.
And so I did.
Man, that's a whole $100 difference.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
But the other thing is
$105.
$105, yeah. I always enjoyed helping people.
Right.
And so this work is an extension of me when I can help you to help the community and to do something that betters or impacts the community, if you will.
That's right.
So that's always been attractive to me. I can look around not only in Texas, but on Maui, in Maryland, and see organizations that I have helped get started.
Nice. Now, where is your, raising, where were you raised at? Because you mentioned Kansas and we're in Texas. You've been traveled a little bit.
I am from what's called the DMV. I
Okay.
am from the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C.
Gotcha.
Raised in Maryland.
Okay.
And ties to Virginia. So that whole D.C.,
Yeah, that little
Maryland,
tri, right area. I have a friend out there. His name is Hart. He's part of our organization, and he's out there crushing it. I mean, they are doing an amazing work out there in that DMV area.
Yeah.
And so, awesome. And so, you were raised in that area. Was there anything throughout your life and your upbringing, in your early childhood, that kind of shaped the doctor that we see today?
So the doctor that you see today is a result of my parents, mainly my mother. Her saying was always, get your education because nobody can take it away from you. And she was right about that. But the other thing that I got from her was her entrepreneurial spirit. She was a nurse, a registered nurse, but she always was thinking about business things.
Really?
Yes, I can remember when she was about 75 years old. She's passed now, but a lot of people don't realize that Union Station in D.C. at one time it wasn't what you see now, and I think it's kind of maybe even fallen in disrepair again. But Union Station was rebirth, and my mother had this idea. I was at home at this time, had moved back to D.C. for a short period. She said, "Find out for me what would it take to have a cake shop at Union Station." A cake shop? Yeah, where people can come in and get cake and coffee. That made no sense at all to me. I was like, okay, but I never did anything with it. Well, and she was retired at the time. But do you know that somebody opened it? I think it was called the Cake Shop in Union Station,
Really?
where you could go in and buy slices of cake and have coffee there. And we used to go there a lot of times. There was a movie theater down there. We would go to the movies, and we would walk by the cake shop, and my mother would just roll her eyes. Like,
Yeah, it's
like
what
that
I've
could have
already
been
imagined
me.
in my mind.
Like that could have been us. We would. Yeah, that was like okay, yeah. But yeah, she was always thinking about how to make money. Now the other thing too, I grew up. Fashion was really my first love.
Really? Okay.
Oh,
I mean, I
yes.
could tell. Every time I see you, you're always put
Well,
together
thank
very
you.
well.
But one of the things that my parents would do, my mother and father, my mother had a sewing machine, so I learned how to sew, mainly from my older sister that taught me. And then back when I went to school, they had home ec, so I learned how to sew in
They
home
don't have that
economics.
anymore. Not that I
They
know
don't have
of.
that. I don't think so. But
But I remember.
they would take me anytime I wanted something, mother and dad, they would take me to the fabric store. Let me get whatever I want. So as a teenager, that's kind of how I stayed out of trouble. But I would make things and put it in somebody else's little store on consignment. I would make clothes for other people, handbags, things like that. So I always had money. I would do alterations, but I just like being able to make my own money. Because I was thinking about this the other day. My first job, I earned $2 an hour.
Balling.
I was still in high school, but just like, and then, yeah, I can't even believe that that's what I made was $2 an hour.
So, it's crazy because I had a conversation about this the other day is, back, like, even in 1990, $2 was way more powerful than $2 today.
Oh, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And people don't understand how inflation works, or they don't understand. And that's why, the money game and understanding financial literacy is part of it's one of the biggest pieces of impact society.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know better, you can't do better.
You cannot.
And so one of the biggest things is around money. And we had the guy. He has a 501c3. Well, he doesn't have a 501c3, but I mentioned your name, and I told him he needs to start one. But he has this charity called the Blue Collar Christmas. And we're talking, and he's in the blue collar field, and I'm like, yeah, a lot of people don't realize that you're going to need to pick up a skill. And they say that the blue collar man is going to be the millionaire man later. Because number one, baby boomer generation's leaving the job market, and
Right.
a lot of those guys were blue collar. And then on top of that, AI and robotics are taking over industries.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
if you're a waiter, if you're a telemarketer, you need to get a skill, because eventually, I mean, even you're going to lose your job is what I'm saying. Because even in the financial service world, because I left real estate to join
Okay.
financial services just recently, or not just recently, but a few years ago. But we can hire, and even when I was in real estate, you can hire a company that will take your voice. You talk to them for like 2 to 5 minutes. They'll take your voice
Yep.
And then when people call in on your ClickFunnels and stuff like that, like sounds like you. Hey, John, this is
Yep.
Patrick Wilbanks. I want to, I saw that your inquiry came in and and then having a whole conversation
I've
with
had
you.
those conversations.
I did too. Matter of fact, I had one recently. A friend of mine moved from San Antonio to Dallas. She's a realtor. She moved up there. We had a Cigars, Wealth, and Whiskey up there, and I invited her. And I'm not even gonna lie. I kept the conversation going because I was like, but I know I'm texting AI, like,
Yeah.
because it's an immediate response. Hey, this is great. Like, it didn't talk like her at all.
Right.
And I noticed, like, at the top left corner, it says that this is an AI companion or something that's texting me. But like, I was telling her, like, hey, don't mind everything I'm talking. I just want to see how in depth this thing
Yeah.
is. But where I'm going is that AI and robotics are taking over industries. Like,
Yeah.
I went to Dallas to go eat, and there was a restaurant where I take the order on the table, and a robot came up like R2D2 and popped out food for me.
Yep.
And so I'm letting people know, like, even if you think you have a skill, that skill may even be
Yeah.
at jeopardy because we're programming the system to replace us.
Well, if you
Right.
go to Japan, and they've been doing it for a number of years now, there is a robot that will bring you your food. Even they're training us that way now. I had to go into McDonald's the other day. I just wanted to get some tea. I mean, you could walk over to the register and stand there and wait, or you can stand there and put your order
just
in,
put-
and then you just walk. When it'll let you know when your order's ready.
Chicago's
But
like that.
You're saying, I mean, so even before I came to Texas, I worked for another college, and we were really pushing trade school. They're doing that again now, and it's not a future; it's here already.
Right.
You have to have some other kind of skill. So for somebody like me with a PhD, that's good in academia, but I don't make my money with my PhD.
Right.
I just don't. I mean, I have other certifications and other skills. And so that really, if I were a young person now, I would tell them, you need to learn AI, learn some of those applications,
100%.
or you need to get into cybersecurity. That's what I would tell them to spend your time on. And you don't need a college degree for that. Those are all certification things.
Got you. The one of the things I want to do is like impact society. I want it to be a 501c3 where it goes out and it educates people, but then it provides resources. But our main thing is financial education.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm bringing this up is because there was 2 or 3 companies that I looked at, or I don't want to call them companies. There's 2 or 3 organizations that are out there, and I don't know if you've heard of them. I'm going to mention their names. One of them is called Woodsman Fraternity, Woodsman Fraternal Order, something
I'm
like that.
familiar with them.
The other one's called Knights of Columbus, and the other one's called Hermans and Sons.
Oh, yeah, locally.
And all 3 of them are organizations that do stuff for the community. They do stuff for specifically the members that joined.
Yeah, they are
And-
fraternal. It's called a fraternal organization.
So could you unpack that as, because Impact Society, my goal, that's how I envision Impact Society. Like, we are a society of people, we're an organization where people can join in as membership.
right.
And through the membership, they're gonna have access to, education. So we're gonna have the podcast describing all the education. There's gonna be an educational section. We're gonna be definitely financial literacy is gonna be the biggest piece. And then more importantly, then we're going to plug them into resources where they can,
Yeah.
establish the 501c3. So you, for instance, have a link on our website, right? So that when people want to set that up, my business funding guy and credit repair guy, he has a link on the website. And so
Nice.
we're just bringing all these different resources together inside of Impact Society
Yeah.
to offer people, number one, ways to get financial literacy and empower your family, ways to actually go be a part of a business and make money, or even establish a business. And that, we can copy that. Like, those organizations, they're similar to what we're already doing at
Yeah.
Impact.
So those specific ones, I know those names, but I don't know exactly how they're set up.
Gotcha.
So my thinking is that there's another category of 501c3 tax exempt, but they're not necessarily looking for donations because they earn their own revenue through those programs that you're talking about. So they're not going to be looking for donations unless somebody just wanted to do it, and they wouldn't be getting a tax write-off for that.
Okay.
But
So not all 501c3s can receive donations and give a tax write-off.
so not
They can
all
receive money.
501. Remember, there's 501c4, 501c5,
Right.
501c6, all the way on down the line. So they're all tax exempt, but they're not the same as 501c3. 501c3 can be tax deductible to the donor. So again, if I gave you $100, I can write that $100 off on my taxes. I think those the organizations that you're talking about, they're able to not pay taxes. So, for example, they can earn revenue through their investments because they're pooling the money. I'm a member of this. Maybe I pay, I don't know, $10 a year to be a member or whatever they charge to get in.
Okay.
But they have all these other services that you take advantage of. So like the Woodsman that you were talking about, if I'm not mistaken, you're talking about, it's like a bank, right? Is that the one you're talking about?
Well, this one is called, it's an insurance company.
Okay.
Because there's three ways. I was in real estate for over 15 years, right? You knew that part. But when I was in real estate, one of the things that I kept running into was, it's one thing to get you in the home, but could I keep you in the home?
Yeah.
And one thing to help you start the business, but could I keep you in business?
Yeah.
And I started looking at the data, and it said 78% of America is living paycheck to paycheck. And it's around 60 to 70% of that is due to the fact of lack of financial literacy.
Yeah.
Now, when I started doing the financial literacy, chasing that information, because again, I grew up in poverty. I know we had, but we didn't have like others and stuff like that. And my parents tried. They 100% did.
But you didn't go hungry though, right?
No, there's a couple times I went hungry. No, there definitely a couple times. There was a couple times I had to go hungry. But it wasn't necessarily on their part. It was, like family issues. And I got homeless at one point, living in abandoned cars and stuff like that. So that's not necessarily them. They did if we had to have that government cheese, we didn't go hungry. We had government cheese, and you could put that, take that powder and put water in it and make some milk, and make sure you eat your cereal with a fork so that, you can eat a couple bowls of cereal if you wanted to. That's how it was growing up. But I want to make, because I grew up like that, I want to make sure that I could help prevent that for other people.
Yeah.
And when I looked at financial literacy, I started doing all this research. And I'm born and raised in Mississippi. The lady who helped, the family that I was raised around, she actually founded the NAACP in Mississippi. So that's why I have this, I guess, viewpoint and my culture of who I am. It was really shaped a lot by those families that I grew up around, right?
Yeah.
And had a very big impact because Mississippi is one of the most racist places ever, And that being said, because Mississippi burning took place about 15 miles west,
Wow.
and time to kill setting was about 15 miles east, and Emmett Till was about 20, 30 miles north. So when I say I grew up in the heart of Mississippi,
Racist and impoverished.
yep,
State.
the average family makes around $23,000 to $25,000 a year. Family, not person, right? So I grew up around that. So that being said, though, I wanted to create something, and I'm sitting in real estate. I have my own real estate brokerage. I'm calling these guys in because at this point I've read 15 books, and it was about the history of, money. I'm trying to learn money, and what I found, for instance, is, when they came to America and they started establishing churches and stuff here, churches were founded on life insurance. Using life insurance programs, and then those churches, as they would take donations, they're the ones who helped build the cities.
Wow.
And the reason that we had Sunday school, for instance, is because school was on Sunday
Yeah.
at the church. Well, then eventually that morphs, right? And then in the mid-1800s, slavery is being abolished, right? And I'm bringing this subject up for sure because today what we have is a lot of privileged people, or they want to complain about how hard it is today, but I think about how hard it was in 1865 and when legal marginalization was happening.
Yeah.
Right? They were legally saying, hey, you're the wrong color, we're not going to let you get life insurance.
Right.
You're the wrong color, we're not going to let you get a mortgage. You're wrong color, we're not going to let you have a bank. And yet we had 10 Black Wall Streets or more but I for sure know about 10
Yeah.
Black Wall Streets all over America.
Yep.
And they were founded on 3 principles. Number one, everybody, if you're going to be in this community, you're going to pay a membership in the community, and it's going to go into your life insurance.
Wow.
Now, when it goes into your life insurance, you're going to be able to then become your own bank. Because what
Yeah.
is a bank? It's an insurance company, a federal deposit insurance company. Matter of fact, if you go look on bolicoley.com, BOLICOLI, you'll find
Okay.
that banks and corporations are the largest owners of life insurance. But
Wow.
Wall Street tells you to put your money in 401ks and IRAs because they don't make money when your money's not under management. So they'll
true.
never tell you how to empower yourself, because if you learned about the power of life insurance, you could become Black Wall Street all over again. You could do what they did, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at all this, and by 1908, we had 98 Black-owned insurance companies in America.
My God.
And this is how we had Black Wall Streets
Wow.
all over America. Today, we have one
Wow.
Black-owned insurance company, and it's only 55% owned,
Wow.
right? And we wonder why the financial literacy is where we are today, and yet the best product out there is being hidden from us. And I want to bring financial literacy to the forefront. I want to show people
Yeah.
how they were able to establish economies, how they were able to build Black Wall Streets and be self-sufficient through these financial strategies, right?
So it's interesting that you said that one of the first things my nonprofit did, we had gotten funding to do financial literacy with high school students. And I think that is lacking. But a lot of financial literacy programs that I see, I think they're on a different level than what you're talking about. A lot of them are simple.
Basics.
They're basic. This is how you write a check. You open an account and a savings account. But I think you said something, I saw it on one of your TikTok pages about a lot of people are house rich,
Yes.
but they're poor.
Yes.
They don't realize.
Money poor and house
yeah,
rich.
money poor is what you said. All of their equity is in their home.
Right.
And they don't realize you could pull that out and take that money and put it into something that earns money
Right.
for you.
Right.
And I was like, he's absolutely right. And most people don't know that. And so I didn't even know that, except that I have a good friend who is her company is a wealth management company. And so I've been able to get with her, and she's been able to like get me straightened out. And I was really afraid at first because I was thinking, my house is paid for. I don't want to do anything I'm not
Yeah,
going
you want to put that money to work. Because, and that's what I bring up, right? Like, okay, well, I'm going to talk about it. If I take money out of a house, let's say I have a $300,000 house, and then I pull that money out of that house, right? I could go put it in a brokerage account. They told me, hey, it'll get me 10%. Yeah, it'll do that. But when you get ready to touch that money, it's not tax free.
Right.
Number one, right? Now, the other thing is I could take that money and I could put it in a life insurance product. Why would I do that? That way, that money goes to my family, avoiding probate.
Yep.
That brokerage account is not going to avoid probate,
Right.
but that life insurance is going to avoid probate, and it's going to go to my family tax-free. That brokerage account is not going to go to tax-free. It's going to get hit with death tax, inheritance tax, estate tax, right?
Yeah.
And so you're going to lose some of the money. The other thing is that you need to deploy your money. People, you go work for money, but if you don't deploy that money and make that money work for you, you'll always have to work for money, right? And so the goal, the strategies, that's why I fell in love with financial literacy, because as 15 years in real estate, right, and the team that I was on with Dayton Schrader, the Schrader Group, we were selling 650 homes a year. Saw a lot of transactions come through there. But, one of the things that broke my heart one day is I helped this lady and her husband and family buy this house. And I want to say less than 2 weeks. She calls me up. She says, Pat, I got to file on the mortgage insurance. I said, what do you mean? She said, my husband died on the way home today.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, well, why would you file on mortgage insurance? She said, well, I'm paying, $200 a month on this mortgage insurance. Isn't insurance to protect me for that? I said, ma'am, mortgage insurance protects the bank.
She didn't realize that.
She said, well, what about my homeowner's insurance? I said, homeowner's insurance protects the bank's
property.
asset. And she was like, well, what protects me? I said, the only one thing that protects you is life insurance.
Yeah.
And I realized when me saying that, I'm like, holy moly, I should have at least added this license. because I'm already in your house and I'm already talking to you about your biggest purchase in life, but now you need to know what to do with the money, right? You know,
So
when
sad.
even with 401ks in 2022, $3 trillion was lost out of retirement accounts.
Yeah. Yep.
And I mean, life insurance, we didn't lose a dime. You can't lose anything. So all your money that you're building towards your retirement, you can't lose. And then when I get ready to retire, I'm receiving tax-free retirement. There's no taxes on that money. If I have a 401k, I'm going to pay taxes on it. So that's why Benjamin rule applies to government programs like 401ks and stuff, because Benjamin rule says really you should only be pulling 2% from your retirement account so that you don't deplete it. If you have to push the limits, you can go 3. But if you go 4%, which is Benjamin's rule, you're guaranteed to deplete that account.
Wow.
And so most people don't know this. And then the way that you find out how much you need to retire is you take your annual income that you need while in retirement and divide it by 4%, because that's what would deplete, and that's your max, right? And so, I want to go out and help people understand.
So how can we tell people this? How can we get this information to the masses while they have time to make a difference and to make some changes?
Number one, that's why the podcast is important. I wanted to get the podcast out there and get in all the mainstream places. A lot of my videos have been going viral too, because I've been talking about, like, one of my videos that went viral in less than a month, I already had a 500,000 views on it, which was, a Roth IRA or a rich man's Roth.
I saw
Forbes
that one.
magazine, and I meant to post the article in it, but Forbes magazine calls a life insurance policy a rich man's Roth, because it has all the same perks of a Roth and yet none of the downside. So you can't take market losses, so it's not affected by the market. You don't. There's only 3 reasons that you touch a Roth, but you can pull out money for whatever reason in an index universal life, and then you're actually growing. I mean, probably faster in that life insurance policy. But then the best parts are, like, for instance, when you get ready to retire, none of the money that's found in your life insurance counts against your Social Security or any of your benefits that you need while you're in retirement. But if you had Roths and 401ks, and it all counts against your retirements. Wow. Even when my daughter, I was thinking about setting up an education fund for her, and I looked at a 529 plan.
Right.
Which is where
that's what they push.
That's what they push. They say, hey, get a 529 plan. But you can take market losses in a 529 plan. It doesn't grow very fast in a 529 plan. And then if she ends up not wanting to go to college, my money's stuck. I mean, it's not necessarily stuck, but I'm going to either lose a lot of money due to taxes and penalties for not using it for education. And then on top of that, any money found in that 529 is going to count against her FAFSA.
Wow, that is very true. I forgot about that.
So I could set up a life insurance policy instead. That way it'll give her death and living benefit coverage in case something happens to her, she gets sick, whatever. I could pull from the death benefit while she's still alive in the form of living benefits. That money that goes in there, when she gets ready, she doesn't have to only use it for college. She can use it for down payment on a house, or down payment on a car, or down payment on a business, right? And then if she did decide to go to college, they would never see that money. It's a private contract between me and the insurance company. So now it doesn't count against her FAFSA.
Wow.
And she can qualify for 100% FAFSA. Now, unfortunately, she passed away. And when she did, if I had a 529 plan, it would have went through her probate or whatever. I would have lost a lot of that money. And instead, the life insurance company gave me way more money than I ever put in there. I put $100 a month for 24 months. So I put basically $2,400. They cut me a $127,000 check.
Wow.
It's the only time we can scam the system, and I tell everybody you should be part of it.
Talk about the difference between, or the different life insurance policies. Because years ago, I used to listen to Dave Ramsey a lot, and he was always pushing term life.
He hates life insurance. I used to be I don't know if you knew this, but I was a Dave Ramsey realtor. So he had a program where you're all over America.
People
you could be
were referred to.
And I was one of them.
Okay.
And I liked his book about, the money makeover and all this stuff. But then there was 2 comments that he said that made me stop listening to him. The first comment that he said was, VA home loan is the worst home loan. And I was like, what?
A lot of people wouldn't get a home loan if it wasn't for VA.
Exactly. I was like, what are you talking about? VA home loan is great. He said, no, it's the worst home loan. You should never use your VA home loan. And I was like, okay. And then the second thing he said was, there was somebody said, if I gave you $1 million at 0% interest, tell me what you would do with it. He said, I would never borrow it. He said, I know, but it's at 0% interest, so it's not going to do. Nope, don't want to borrow money, don't want to be in debt. And I'm thinking, we're in a debt society. Debt is how you build wealth.
Yeah.
And if somebody gave me $1 million at 0% interest, what do you mean? I'm going to, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go put that money to work.
Yep.
And so when he said that, and then the third strike out was, don't get life insurance. You only want term. Invest the rest in the market. But there's a company that was founded in 1970 that tried to buy term and invest the difference, and it didn't work out. Those people end up 30 years later, picking up ailments and stuff like that. But now their insurance is expired.
Yep.
It's too costly. And then the money that was in that invest the difference side didn't work out. We had too many market crashes.
Yeah.
Right? And so
Yep.
even though that company's still around, and I'm not hating on that company at all, everybody's different strategies. It's 1997, E.F. Hutton said, I could take the buy term and invest the difference and keep it in a policy where it's 100% safe, it gives you tax advantages, and it builds like that, but with guarantees. Where that page, with that other company, it'll say hypothetical on the top of the page, whereas we can give a minimum guarantee, and then we can still project where it'll most likely be based on the history. So, but Impact Society, we want to create financial literacy.
Yeah.
We want to go out there and educate people. We want to give people business opportunities as well. So we're plugging them in. But more importantly, we're a place of resource so that, people as yourself that have expertise. Because I don't like working with people who aren't an expert in their field.
Right.
But they can talk to you. And so you have a link on the website where people can, plug in with you to get information so that they could learn
Yeah.
how they could start a 501c3.
And I'm a real person. They can talk to me.
Oh, man. A real humble, beautiful-hearted person, by the way.
Yeah, but I spend a lot of time educating people about, so when people work with me to get their 501c through, I don't just do the technical aspect and you're on your way. I answer questions, and a lot of times I have people say, well,
Hold your
yeah, we're
hand.
going to do this, and I'm like, well, let me tell you what that will get you
Right.
if you do that. But here's another way. Or let me give you the information or tell you where you can go
Right.
and get the information. I think that's the fun part of what I do is to kind of shorten the process for them. Like,
Right.
let me help you not fall in this or go off that cliff, because I know if you continue that way, that's what will happen.
Right.
And sometimes I've had people who want to start something that I don't agree with, and then I'll say, I don't think I can help you do that,
Keeping it real.
because I know it'll get them in trouble.
Right.
And I don't need my name associated with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Dorinda Rowe, we appreciate you for coming on the podcast today. And again, guys, when you're on, subscribing to this podcast, join the movement. Don't just be a hearer, be a doer. Join the movement, be a part of what we're doing here, because we're building something great. It's called a society because we're bringing people together into one likeness, one mission, and one goal to share resources, share information, and that's why our motto is each one reach one, each one teach one. This is Impact Society.